What's going on, Raider Nation? Coaster here, just finally talking about the Raiders. I know it's been a while, and some of you have been wondering, where am I? Why am I not talking? Well, I don't usually talk about the preseason a whole lot, like game by game. There's no reason to do that. So with that being said, my thoughts, here are my thoughts on the Raiders. Long video coming, it's just kind of a long, so hopefully just kind of break this down into pieces. First off, I have been a little so-so on those preseason games. I mean, the offense hasn't really looked the way I've wanted it to. You can only hope the coaching staff can adjust to some of the things. I'll talk about the offensive side of the ball first. Looks like Schaub's going to be the guy. They're going to have to pretty much play with him with no choice. Derek Carr is hurt, and you hope that he's ready by, say, later in the season, a quarterback. Schaub right now is a little too conservative with checking down. It's pretty sad and weird to say. Running back, I think, should be fine with Jones, Drew, McFadden, and possibly Murray down the stretch. I hope those guys look good at running back a little later in the season. Marcel Reese should still be a good weapon. Wide receivers, I think, will be fine. Everyone might say there's young no-namers, but Denarius Moore and Andre Holmes and Rod Streeter were all very serviceable. I don't have too much issues there at wide receiver. And even, I know Bryce Butler is buried on the depth chart, but even I think he's okay. So at tight end, of course, Michael Rivera. You hope that he comes up from last year, steps his game up again. He was the one receiver to kind of cheer about. Everybody else, kind of young. I mean, Osbury's been with the team for a while. He might get cut for all we know. Tight ends is full of no names. The offensive line, that's the biggest part right there. Is that we spent on guys like Austin Howard, Donald Penn, on the left side, and then on the right side, hopefully Gabe Jackson can beat out Khalif Barnes. I'm really tired of seeing Barnes as the right guard or even on the offensive line in general. Menelik Watson. There's got to be a lot of the offense will hinge on that offensive line and Menelik Watson. I'm not so sure. There's a couple stopgaps who are okay. I don't know if they're great. But if they can run the ball, there's some hope. They got to be able to run the ball, or else if you're going to ask Matt Schaub to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, they're screwed. That's just not going to work that way. They have to run the ball effectively, which I think the running backs can do fine, but can the offensive line provide holes? I'm very skeptical of that. And, of course, how good are they at pass protection for Schaub? Is Schaub going to be a statue? Is he going to be able to get rid of the ball in time? We'll see what happens there, but the offense, very sketchy. From what I've seen. Defensively, I expect that to be the strength of the team. The front four should be solid. I expect development and growth from Stacy McGee, but you got Justin Tuck, Lamar Woodley on the line. They should be helping out all the younger guys. A lot of expectations for the defensive line to be much better, especially from a pass rushing standpoint. The Raiders have not had a good pass rusher in a while. Khalil Mack, the guy we just drafted, becomes one of the better pass rushers in the league. Hopefully, he shows why he was worth one of the best players in the draft. I know a lot of these scouts said he was one of the best guys, and when we drafted him, I was fine with it. I mean, he was supposed to be the can't-miss guy, but now you got to prove it. You got to prove you're the can't-miss player, an outside linebacker. Show that you can be the pass rusher that everyone envisions you to be. Nick Roach, C.O. Moore should be alright at linebacker. I expect C.O. Moore to hopefully develop more, and Roach has been a good player for the most part. But it's all about Khalil Mack and seeing what he does. Those are the expectations there. Secondary is where I'm once again, very sketchy. Charles Woodson is a little old. He can teach everybody. He's a good teacher, and I think he'll be okay, and Tyvon Branch is fine at safety. But the corners, I'm not so sure about that. Terrell Brown, he's on a one-year prove-it deal. Carlos Rogers is on a one-year prove-it deal. Both ex-49ers, from what I'm reading. I mean, Rogers has been alright in the preseason, but he's like a 1 or 2 year wonder. He's had a couple good years, and yeah, maybe there's pressure on him to have a great year to get a better contract. But I'm not impressed with him all in the big picture. And Terrell Brown, Brown is supposed to be the better of the two corners, but he's been pretty flat in the preseason, maybe in press coverage. I just haven't been impressed with him either. What really blows on the depth chart is DJ Hayden. That pick really pisses me off still. I wasn't into that pick back then, and I'm still not into that pick today. That he's going to be out for the first 5 to 6 games of the season. Already hurt. No training camp once again. That means I'm very skeptical with him. I don't like what I saw in that pick in the beginning. He had injury history, and I don't know how people saw, or how the Raiders had him as the best guy on their draft board. They would have taken him at 3rd overall if they didn't get an offer to trade down. And I would have been probably even more pissed, but still, that pick bothers me a bit. So what are some goals for this year and maybe some expectations? I think, I hate to say it, but I think 7-9 is the best possibility for this team. I do not like what I see on offense. As long as Matt Schaub is starting at quarterback, I could see this team going 4-12. And some of you don't want to hear that. I know last year I got a lot of heat for saying I didn't expect a good year, but I don't see it. The offense just doesn't make me happy. I could see Schaub throwing picks. He'll throw some pick sixes, and the defense, I think the defense will keep them in the game, but then they're going to get tired. They're going to be on the field too much, and they're just going to give up plays left and right. I mean, last year the defense was fine in the first half, and I think they kind of dogged it near the end. They were in tank mode the last 3 to 4 games of the year. So they got Khalil Mack by tanking. I don't approve of tanking, but hey, they got what they wanted. They got a player that supposedly is great. Now you got to show it. Really, the job on the line, the job really is on the line for Dennis Allen. If the defense somehow sucks or it regresses or it gets even worse, he's supposed to be the defensive coach. And if Allen gets fired, say, middle of the year or after this year, the good news is nobody in the media will give us heat. This would be the first time we have stability, knowing we have a general manager. And if he fails, he fails. But at least they gave him a fair shot. They didn't just give him a 1-year shot or even a 1.5-year shot. He didn't he hasn't looked good at all. I think he's been soft, or he's been being conservative, or they sit on the lead. People say they don't have the talent, but there's talent enough on defense. They should be competitive. I just do not like the offense as long as Schaub's at quarterback. I mean, it's sad that I want McGloin to start in week 1. It really is. The other goal, besides maybe, I guess, 7-9 being the best expectations, is that you hope that Mack, Gabe Jackson, and Derek Carr can show their worth. Derek Carr, I think it's best to let him sit. I don't care if he's healthy in week 1. You got to let him watch and learn. I think with a rookie, I know there are some that do well in the beginning, but I think it's best if Carr is an observer and say by week 7 or 8, maybe Derek Carr could come in, and then after some watching and learning, he could come in and play. The good thing about Matt Schaub is that it's a 1-year deal, and it's not really, it says 2-year I think on paper, but really it's just to help us get to the cap floor. That's the more important thing. I think for those of you who know cap things, you got to spend a certain amount of money, and giving Shar a big 1-year contract will do that. So to those saying we're wasting money, I mean, every team's got to spend to the floor anyway. It's not a long-term nasty contract. So you look at the schedule. You know, last year they played one of the worst NFC divisions in the NFC East, and they went 0-4. That's unacceptable. This time they face the AFC, I believe it's the AFC East, which I think the AFC East is getting better. Sadly, I think the Jets, Bills are much better, and the Dolphins have our number, unfortunately. And then the NFC West is arguably the best division in football. That's 3 elite defenses, maybe 4. It really depends on what the Cardinals do, but I see 3 out of 4 losses to the NFC West. Maybe the Rams are the only winnable game. But otherwise, the rest of the NFC West is probably going to curb stomp us. I don't want to say that, but that's how I see it. Their defenses are just going to shut us down, and I'm going to be tired of that. Then, of course, you got the Texans. I think they came in last place, and then the other last place teams, the Browns. A couple winnable games, but I think Houston's going to rebound. And then within the division, I think we have a shot at 3rd place. I know it's not a lot saying much, but you expect the Broncos to win the division. The Chargers should be fighting for a wild card spot. Maybe they'll climb the mountain. Who knows if Phillip Rivers repeats on his elite season. But I don't think the Chiefs are going to be where they were last year. They were exposed in the second half. They just snuck up on people because they were playing backup quarterbacks, weak teams. They could pad their stats against some really bad teams, and I don't think the Chiefs are going to be anywhere close to a playoff spot. They'll be a 500 team at best, in my opinion. Yeah, I could be wrong, but I think the Chiefs will be right in the same boat as us. I think they're the only real beatable team in the division. So, Raiders, I don't have a lot of expectations, but I do want to see growth in the current players. So, 7-9 would be a pretty good accomplishment, would be a good step in the right direction. But if Khalil Mack and, say, Derek Carr prove to be vital players, then that's also a positive. So, let me know what you guys think. Good or bad, you like this team, you don't like this team. I'm not very optimistic because I don't like the offense, but we'll see. I just think Schaub is going to be terrible. He's just there to get us to the cap floor, and then you hope guys like Carr will be ready by the time, say, it's the mid part of the season. Still not happy over that DJ Hayden pick. So, with that being said, I will not be able to recap every single game. I'm not retired from YouTube or any of that, but I probably won't be able to preview many games this year. I will have a lot of work. I'm kind of a busy guy now. Some of you know why, some of you don't know why, but if anything, you can always bug me on Twitter. I got my Twitter in the link. Most of you should know it by now. If not, yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a rough year to watch. Just see the development of some players. I don't think they're gonna win enough this year to really make me happy or make me optimistic. We'll see what happens, though. See you guys later. Go Raiders.